Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your second breakout. I'm still Marnick Vandebroek, your host, and thank you for joining this one. And like I always say, it's the best breakout to be in, so it's good that you're here. Take your seat, relax, because I have a very special guest in this breakout. And you already saw it in the introduction video, no one less than Tripti Jha. Hope I pronounced it right. What's the names these days? Tripti Jha, Chief Talent and People Solution Officer at Novartis. And she is a very experienced lady. She has been working for Novartis since 2004. She led the P&O data and digital transformation strategy and started and leading the people analytic team. And today she's going to talk about. We all know the world is changing. You have COVID. You soon have post COVID, and there's a lot of new challenges, but also opportunities coming in towards HR professionals, the audience you hear. And what she's going to talk about, and she calls it reinventing the role of HR, how to tackle those challenges and opportunities or grasp opportunities and put, I think this is a nice way to say it, put the H in HR and talk a bit about the future of HR. So I'm going to not take more of her time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're ready, Tripti, if you are ready, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you, Marnie, for a very gracious introduction. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll be taking the next few minutes to talk about what's been our experience, our journey more than a best practice. And it's a journey that continues. It's our journey into a culture transformation that was actually the biggest force behind how we started to reimagine HR. And that started with actually the name of the function first, you know, moving from human resources to what we call people in organization, bringing people into the center of our thinking. Simple as it may sound, it has been a journey, and this is something which we are very proud of, and we continue to embark on it every day. Before I go on and talk about how we looked at reinventing people and organization, just a brief introduction what Novartis is. It comprises of more than 110,000 unique individuals operating in approximately 155 countries, united by a single shared mission, reimagining medicine to improve and extend people's life. Our product addressed most major human health, disease areas, and number of patients across in. And just in 2020, we produced around 72 billion treatments. It is with that purpose our culture comes into play. Our culture aspiration is for everyone at Novartis to be inspired, curious, and unbossed. You might wonder what that means. And I am going to talk about how these very words, this very culture, has helped us reshape what the function is. In 2018, when Vas Narasimhan became our CEO and aligned the organization around purpose of reimagining medicine, we we are in the business of innovation, and our people are our biggest asset. We want to unleash the power of our people through an inspired, curious, and unbossed culture. And that is our first priority, which we believe is key to all other priorities to unlock our full potential, to drive innovation, and to ultimately deliver that business and individual performance. What it meant for the P&O function. Having spent the last few years raising awareness, understanding nuances of culture, and embedding our culture aspiration across the global organization, there are three things that stood out, which as a function, we had to change, evolve, and actually reinvent. First one being exciting challenge of walking the walk, and I would say walking the walk, of making it part of how we do everything we do, bringing culture into our flow of work, not having it run as a separate program or managed, but bringing it really into what we call our flow of work. Our people and organization function had to really reinvent its approach from managing programs, projects, technology to delivering experiences. As a function, we had to get more focused on bringing things together, making sense of things together, chase outcome and cause versus just process, and just get experience, focus much more on running experience, delivering experience versus running programs. We had to be courageous. We had to set bold ambition. We had to start working on complex problems. We had to create space for working on those complex problems. Ability of the function to experiment, innovate, learn, and unlearn, which also I will talk about, and execute that scale has been all part of, what we call reinventing people and organization. Also having the courage of letting certain traditions go, certain traditions which we as an organization and as a function have taken pride, like our very performance management system. Last, realizing very well culture is not just about a nice narrative people talk about, but an experience people feel. It is not something vague, idealistic, unachievable, but measured through how people feel, and it's a powerful combination of leading with empathy as well as insights. Our people solution needed to reflect that thinking, that sense of care. Thinking and aspiration need to be bold, yet simple, relevant, and relatable when executed. People need to connect to those. And in all this, fundamental to our shift was how we in people and organization function reinvented ourselves with people solutions, with bringing DNI into a flow of our work, bringing, performance into our flow of work, and analytics into flow of our work in a most responsible manner. This has and will allow us the science of people with empathy and responsibility. The journey is not finished. And I want to use, you know, a few concrete examples of how this plays out, in what we do as a function and how the culture gets into flow of our work, what it means for our people and organization function. The first one I would like to take is diversity and inclusion. As you heard earlier, diversity doesn't have an impact without inclusivity. DNI for us has three very clear goals: equity, inclusivity, and society. It has to go beyond just our organization. It has to make a difference at the societal level. And for that, we have to relook at what kind of environment we create internally. These priorities are embedded in our core business operations, in our code of ethics, and extend to every part of our organization, whether it is business operations, supply chain, manufacturing, or you look at, the way we look at clinical trial diversity, marketing, diversity in our marketing thinking and all. We continue to make progress, whether it is around gender and pay equity, in LGBTI equity, race and ethnicity, which becomes even more important ever, and the nuances of that comes out, and we continue to commit to how we will deal with this in future. And we know we have more to do. We are proud of where we have come to, but we know we have more to do. As we look into the future, living DNI in our core business operations and living DNI through our culture and leadership practice by listening to learn, by being more self-aware, and by being open to diverse ideas and role modeling behaviors. DNI shows up in all elements of our culture, whether it's inspired, curious, unbossed. It is how we are inspired by a purpose that allows to harness a power of more than 100,000 unique perspectives and ideas. The importance of being curious, knowing that diverse perspectives drive better science, the very core of our organization, that open, self-aware leaders create more inclusive environment. And if we want to reimagine medicine for a better world, we need to shape business practices for a society that is healthy and more inclusive. Same for Unbossed, creating an inclusive workplace where all of us can contribute and bring our full identity. The second practice I want to talk about is evolving a performance management process. This was a top voted idea from our associates, and where they clearly said the process that has worked for last many years is not the inspiring process they want to continue. This was a top voted idea. From 2021, as a company, we moved to the new evolve process where we go away from ratings. It's not something that we thought overnight, but listening to people has been part of shaping this. Funny enough, performance management processes, what some of us have taken pride in managing, and this was the least rated experience from associates across the world, including even the top performers. Was not an easy decision, and there was not a model to copy and paste. What we did is using the analytical rigor, using the science driven organization experience that we have, we went through this journey of experimentation and design for last 2 years, consulting range of internal experts, external experts, but most important, listening to our associates, and took 17,000 associates through this experiment last year. And from this year, across the organization, we moved to this new evolve way, which is much more about, you know, feedback, coaching in the moment, and focusing on outcome versus activity, and putting the whole year into a rating or turning it into a box. It's a journey that we embark on. We will learn and we will adapt more, but this is a bold step as we start to move, into our culture journey and reinvent ourselves as a function. The last one I want to talk about is how we had to reinvent ourselves and how our culture was the biggest enabler when it came to responding to pandemic, a response that still continues. Ensuring the safety and well-being of our associates while ensuring the continued supply of our critical medicines. This was the single biggest focus for us. This was a true time for culture into the flow of work, our people strategy to be felt by our associates. This is the unprecedented time, a moment that truly matters for all of us more than ever before. We focused on listening, understanding, yet responding with a speed, that addresses the needs of our business as well as our associates, helping us prioritize the support we offer, whether it is well-being offerings from support with fitness goals to mental health to ensuring job security at this time to support for working parents for homeschooling and kids to learning offerings for associates and their families. It has what it has is a deep listening conversation to what associates say. That has helped shape, how we respond. It's our ability to pivot to the challenges of COVID and with the speed with which we respond. And it also helps us not just respond to the COVID, pandemic at the moment, but also look at what is the future of working for Novartis? What is going to be our future of working? Going beyond whether it is remote or hybrid, but much more about how does the sense of belonging continues? How does collaboration continue? As you can say, this is a commitment towards future of working. What we don't know what exactly it'll look like. We work through a set of experiments, and it is in the next few years we will learn more about, but shape it together, what that looks like. It is with that I say how we had to literally reinvent our function, ourselves in the last 3 years, bringing it to life, bringing it into a flow of work, and a journey that truly continues, and journey we are very excited about. I would pause here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tripti, for that wonderful presentation. And there aren't a lot of speakers that can do that with only 2 slides. So you can tell a very structured story, only 2 slides. So that's remarkable in itself, and I really enjoyed it. As the people watching, just keep the questions coming in through the chat. You know how it works with the emojis, and if you want to pick Tripti's brain on the culture driving that, like she calls it, the journey Novartis went through or is going through. I can imagine a lot of other people are also in the same journey, and you can learn from each other. Just keep that coming. We're just gonna dive straight into to it. Tripti, I saw on your slide the embossed, and we all saw it. It's pretty. It's Joe dive real quick into it. Why? Because it popped up immediately, and we have so much talk about the importance of leadership. Mariana said it in the keynote also, breaking down the silos, connecting leadership. Leadership has a very, of course, it's not everything, but has an important role to play in driving this culture, and definitely in the way of working we have right now. And then you say embossed. And you touched upon it, but what does that really mean? Does it mean everything starts from the bottom, from the people, or what role does leadership play at Novartis in this whole journey?
Thank you, Marnie, and thanks for that question. I have to be very open. Among the inspired, curious, and embossed, this is the hardest part to bring into life. And a bit of our take on unbossed. And unbossed is not about having chaos. It just does not mean there is anarchy, like literally anyone can do anything.
Yeah.
It is about better leadership accountability. It is about leaders creating clarity. It is harder to do. It is easier to put a control in place, a protocol, and leaders do that, managers do that. It's also easier for associates. Unbossed is about creating that clarity, creating accountability, and ensuring that support to bring the best out in an associate in the organization, not by controlling, but by unbossing and empowering them.
That's a beautiful one. Yeah, and I think it's also meanwhile the questions are coming. I'll read it in a second. So if I look up or right, Tripti, it's not because I'm not interested in what you're saying. Just checking the questions and what pops up on my screen, just letting you know that. But I think that's a really cool one. Like Novartis has been unbossed, and like you said, it's not creating anarchy, but it's really redefining that what is leadership and how can they help drive that journey. Now, if I look at my screen, Javier, if I pronounce it, Javier Gomez Udrera asked the question. I'm just going to read it to you, Tripti. In which direction are the most relevant organizational changes taking place, and what role is HR playing? And thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you, Javier, and for that question. The relevant culture transformation is one of the biggest transformation, if I say, because that applies to entire organization. That applies to, you know, how an organization comes together. You know, it is a diverse organization. What is the single unifying purpose, and what is the culture that ties it? So that transformation and that change is one HR, what we call P&O, plays a pivotal role in enabling the leaders, enabling people, and really making that happen. The second part of change that happens is in business transformations, as the environment continues to evolve, as the disease areas continue to evolve, as the new novel therapies come in. Our business is never a static business. It's a very dynamic business. And we need to continue to think about what the future business models would be. So HR plays here a critical role in partnership with the business in really looking at what that is, how we go about it, what is it that we need to do today, which helps bring a novel therapy 5 to 7 years down the line to treat that disease, probably there is no cure today. And third, that I would really highlight, if you look at the change that happens, much more is our world today. You know, did I expect myself to be in this room a year back and plan like that? This not at all. So it is that ability of organization to respond and adapt with agility is that's where the business model transformation happens a lot. What will the future of working look like even when we are out of pandemic? I I don't know. I don't have an answer, but that is where a big change would come. And that's something, HR also plays a critical role in exploring together future of working. Nothing will happen in isolation. Not one function will find, you know, a solution to it. It will all be by working together that we will find a solution. I hope that answers.
Okay, Javier, of course you can respond in the chat if that was the answer to your question, but I think so too. And also, like, on a personal note, the fact that you said, like, I don't know what's going to happen, and I think nobody knows because the world changes every single day. Definitely in the phase that we are right now. But admitting that as a company, like, we're still on that journey, and we don't know, but we are prepping as good as possible, and we have the culture in place to be resilient to all the change that is coming our way. I think that's a beautiful thing that you just said there. I'm looking at my screen. I see Nisha Pillay. Nisha, like I said, Tripti, I'm gonna read the question to you. How do you get the managers to commit to your HR vision? That's a straightforward question here. How do you get the managers that are unbossed, the leaders, to commit to your HR vision?
I have a very short answer to that. We committed to managers' need and associate need. It was not us asking them to commit, it was us going to what the need is. If you look at the change in the performance management system, that was the top ask from our employee population, all associated. The culture transformation, that is still, and I would not say it's done. This is a journey we will continue on. It was creating an aligned, shared understanding, repeating ourselves, talking about the same thing over and over and over again, and yet being open because, not subscribing that, what we roll out is perfect. We will improve, we will learn and adapt. That really helped, and having that as a shared vision, when people saw what they said being reflected, that has really helped. That continued listening to associates and manager has been, if I say one simple, most powerful tool, which has helped the HR vision being a shared vision. That is something I would say, and that still continues.
All right. Hope that answers the question. Having the shared vision, I like that. I'm looking at the timing. I think we have time for one more. Adding on this, also with the previous question that Javier asked, you talked also in your presentation. You talked about data, the use of data, and most of the time when we're talking about culture, about driving a people-focused strategy through the organization, it's I'm not gonna put it in a too simple light, but it's something you feel culture is there or it isn't, and it's something that grow. And I hear you talking about look at the data. How can the professionals and the leaders watching right now, how do you start with that data? Because you also lead the people analytic team. How do you use that data in your HR
Yeah.
in that driving that culture, or how do you start with it?
Empathy has long been, you know, center of HR,
Yeah.
P&O. It is the ability to build that empathy backed by insight that starts to reinvent, HR and keep it relevant. Because, and the data is from different sources. We have a full people analytic center of expertise, COE as we call it, set up, which we set it up 2 years back, 3 years back. And it is about different type of data, but also more purposeful, meaningful use of that data. It's about data about how people feel. And I know there are lots of things about, how often you should do a survey, how often you should
Yeah.
ask people. We look at marketing survey on a quarterly, monthly, even weekly basis. We look at sales results on a weekly basis, daily basis. What stops us in knowing how people feel at least on a quarterly basis? And it's bringing that rigor of science and data into how people feel what they want, and linking that to the strategy. If you look at many years back, we would reach out with this once in 1 year, 2 years. And by the time you respond, do it. It is not real time. It's not in the moment. And it is not, it has, it won't be relevant anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, how do you go real time as much as you can, responsive, yet keep it simple and relatable. And it is that power of data used in the most responsible way, you know, that really gives us the ability as well as the credibility to have that conversation and shape the strategy.
I like that. There you go. The data about how people feel. I'm just. I should write this down. All the quotes you said in the in the Q&A, and we have ourselves a book that we're gonna bring out to the. But looking at the time, I have to thank you for your presentation. I hear unbossing the leadership so they can lead in a different way, looking at the data, how people feel. It's a journey. You don't know what's coming, but you can only drive that culture and learn every step of the way and looking at how people are feeling and what they're doing. So thank you so much, Tripti, for taking the time to present this story to us. Thank you for answering the questions, and thank you, the viewers of this breakout, for attending. If you have other questions, connect with Tripti online. She's on social media if you want to know more. Thank you very much. And for the people that are joining me back in the main room, you'll probably see me there. Cheers.
Thank you so much.